Hello, my name is Ditte, and I would like to discuss the theme Me, Taz, and Eugene in reference to the article called Vinyl Vamp from Life in Plastic, The Economist, from December 19th, 2002. The article was actually quite difficult to read sometimes, but it was very interesting because Barbie is such a big brand and Barbie has been such a big part of so many girls' childhood. And the article shows different point of views and critiques on Barbie and its bad influence on these young girls. And Barbie is also portrayed as a villain that corrupt young girls. To show how the journalist argues for the point of views and the critiques on Barbie, we can use Tolman's model of argumentation. And in this article, the argumentation consists of data, a claim, and a warrant. And I've chosen one passage from the article on page 2, this one. And now I would like to analyze the passage. And first of all, we have a claim. And the claim is other distractors turn to art. And the claim is the same statement to be argued. And it has no data, so to show whether the claim is true or false. But then the data, there is a whole world of anti-Barbies devised for reasons of protest and humor. Among the exhibits that have gone on display are Exorcist Barbie, Drag Queen Barbie, and Sweatshop Barbie. And the data is the evidence to prove whether the claim is true or false. And in this passage, the data shows how the distractors turn to art to justify the claim. And then we have the warrant, and the warrant is the world of anti-Barbies exist, and therefore we know that some distractors have turned to art. And the warrant supports the data and the claim, and it creates a bridge between them. So the argument are convincing because the journalist uses the three part of the model well, especially because every time you have a claim, every time he claims something, he uses a lot of different aspects of data to justify the claim. And that makes it easy to link them together as a warrant, which creates a good argument and makes the journalist trustworthy. I would like to present a common theme in the article that I have called inner versus outer. Barbie represents the American beauty ideal, which is an unrealistic view on women's body proportions. And there's an example in the text on page 2. Indeed, Barbie's preposterous figure would almost cause a grown woman to topple over. So, Barbie creates an illusion of what it takes to become successful as a woman. This is the idea that success requires youth, slimness, and beauty. So, if you want to be successful, you have to be beautiful. This illusion gives young girls a twisted idea of how to look, and this is why we can talk about Barbie as a villain. The Barbie doll symbolizes the white, Western, blue-eyed woman, even though Mattel, the creator of Barbie dolls, has tried to embrace other ethnicities and cultures, as it's shown on page 1. She may have her African American, Hispanic, and Asian sisters, introduced by Mattel as early as the 1960s, but Barbie's hold on the imagination is as the white, blue-eyed blonde. So, even though there's been many attempts to widen the Barbie universe, the white doll will always be the one that you associate with the Barbie doll. To come back to the contrast inner versus outer, there's another contrast, and it's the one between men and women. The idea that men are smart and women are beautiful. For instance, on page 2, Mattel released a series of talking Barbies, one of which cheaped, Math Class is Tough. where Mattel creates a stereotype of what women care about. As an example of the stereotyping men and women, the article refers to two talking dolls, the Barbie doll and the G.I. Joe. And the Barbie Liberation Organization made a stunt where they switched the voice boxes of the G.I. Joes and the Barbies. As it reads on page 2, the re educated Barbies bellowed muscular lines such as "Vengeance is mine," while the boy dolls chirped "Let's go shopping." And they did this to show how the whole toy industry represents gender in a normative way. This vision of what a woman has to achieve in order to become successful creates a twisted view on gender and creates stereotyping among girls in one of the first phases in their lives. I would like to refer to Emma Watson's speech about gender equality, where she mentions how her girlfriends at the age of 15 began quitting the sports team because they didn't want to appear masculine. And this gives a concrete example of how ideals about looks and appearance can make women give up their goals and conform to the society's expectations. The Vinyl Vamp article shows whose fault this is in one phrase on page 1. Barbie has joined the gallery of Rouges, alongside supermodels, women's magazines, and the advertising industry, held responsible for teenagers' weight anxiety and women's body complexes. But as this phrase on page 1 displays, it's not only young girls who are the victims of this fact, it's also adults, grown up women. Barbie doll was actually adapted from a German toy for adult men, which shows that this is a vision that some men have of women's bodies. And in reference to this, I would like to talk about the short story They're Not Your Husband, where Earl forces his wife to go on a diet because he hears two men talking about her curves at the diner where she works. He treats her as an object, as if she should look like a Barbie doll, which is an unrealistic goal. And in that way, her looks becomes more important than her health and her happiness. Earl conforms to the view of the two men in the same way that so many women conform to the beauty ideals. Earl's focus is on the outer instead of the inner, and Barbie is an illustration of that focus. So, this crooked and unrealistic picture of the female body and the fact that dressing and undressing, brushing and grooming is what Barbie is all about on page 1. This makes Mattel and Barbie doll villains because they damage self confidence and they create ideals and expectations that no human can possibly live up to.